Every director has a unique style of filmmaking. Some are beloved and praised throughout the years, like the works of James Cameron, Sam Raimi, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, to name a few. There are some that are hated for their works, like Michael Bay, M. Night Shyamalan, Uwe Boll, to also name a few. But then there are those directors who have such a bizarre, unique style that may not grab the masses, but still leaves an impact on you because of how strange and different it is. Robert Rodriguez is one of those directors, the guy behind the Sin City movies, the Machete movies, and of course today's subject, the Spy Kids franchise, a very unique, weirdly bizarre series of films. It started off successful, but then after sequel, reboot after reboot, the franchise ran out of steam, and is currently dormant. But why did such an IP that made Robert Rodriguez a household name lose all life? Well, let's talk about the slow death of the Spy Kids franchise. So Spy Kids started off as a passion project of Rodriguez. He wanted to create a kid-centric espionage film that empowered them after a kid fan said he liked Rodriguez's film Desperado, and in 2001, Spy Kids was released, and was a solid success, making over $100 million, and surprisingly got strong critic reception, though not so strong on the audience side of things. Since Spy Kids was a well-received movie, Rodriguez decided to give it a sequel and make it bigger. In 2002, Spy Kids 2: Island of Lost Dreams was released, and was another solid hit, making over $100 million again, which may not seem impressive for a sequel, but when you realize the budget these movies are made with, it is a respectable intake, and was again well received by critics, though still the audience was not on board with this franchise. With the continued success of the IP, another sequel was made. In 2003, Spy Kids 3D Game Over was released, and it was another rousing success, making over $100 million, though this time, critics and audiences were on the same page, and it wasn't good. But still, Spy Kids proved to be a profitable franchise. Around this time, everybody thought the series was over and it was going to stay a trilogy. But years later, the franchise came back. In 2011, Spy Kids 40 All the Time in the World was released, and it was a huge flop, making only over $80 million, and was absolutely obliterated by both critics and audiences. This movie was supposed to kickstart a new era of Spy Kids, but obviously, that did not happen, and the franchise was shelved for a while. It did get a Netflix animated series in the form of Spy Kids Mission Critical, which acted as a midquel, taking place in between 1 and 2, showing Carmen and Juni as new recruits, and them learning how to be spies. But the series didn't last long, and the IP was once again shelved, and it seemed like that was it for the franchise. No coming back from 2 colossal failures in a row, but surprisingly, it came back, in the form of the 5th installment. In 2023, Spy Kids Armageddon was released. However, unlike the previous films, this was a Netflix exclusive. When it debuted, people did not like it. It was trashed by both sides, though not as much as 4, but still pretty bad, and that's the last we've seen of the franchise. No plans to bring it back to speak of. It's just a dead franchise that has remained dormant ever since, and that's the end of the Spy Kids franchise. So what happened to the Spy Kids franchise? Well, a lot of things. Franchise fatigue. The concept of kids becoming spies and saving the day is a premise that worked well, but that idea started to get stale and tired eventually. There's only so much you can do with that. Unless you do something different or add something fresh, it's just gonna lose its charm. Another reason, redundancy. After Spy Kids 3, they just kept reusing the same formula over and over again. 2 kids live a normal everyday life, but their parents are secretly spies. They get kidnapped and the kids have to go and save them and stop the villain from ending the world or taking it over. When you recycle the same plot over and over, it gets uninteresting and bland. The franchise needed to change things up and do something new in order to keep audiences' interest, but it didn't. It was like there was a lack of creativity or passion when making these films. Robert Rodriguez doesn't even seem to be that invested in this franchise anymore, and it started with an idea he was really passionate about, and as time went on, that creative drive started to dwindle and the IP started to suffer because of it. If there is no passion, there is no effort, and it seemed like his heart just wasn't in it anymore, and he was only bringing this IP back to get an easy check. Sin City and Machete obviously failed and Alita didn't work out, so what other franchises is he gonna rely on for cash? Shark Boy and Lava Girl? Ha, you wish. This franchise is literally the only thing that keeps him afloat, and if he has to squeeze some time to make another Spy Kids, he'll happily do it. But it comes at the cost of the credibility and creative integrity of the IP. and if there is no genuine desire to make the installment to expand the characters and world in satisfying ways, it will always be empty and pointless. The movies declined in viewership and profitability as they went on, and I think Rodriguez realized the franchise was past its prime and peak, and that audiences weren't interested in this property anymore, and that things weren't going to change by moving platforms, or by giving them what they already got years ago but with much less of what made it special and unique. They had run this franchise into the ground, and it was time to move on, and they knew it. With all the declining interest and diminishing returns, it was time to put this franchise to rest. Overall, guys, the Spy Kids franchise is an IP I have a soft spot for. It introduced two likable characters and a unique style of filmmaking that is bizarre but funny to see on screen. It's no cinematic marvel or anything, but it is a charming series of films, at least up to 3, that I have fond memories of, and while it is sad that the franchise went to shit and became nothing but a cash grab franchise that is only brought back for brand recognition alone, it doesn't take away from the solid, enjoyable films we got from Robert Rodriguez when he was putting his all into it, and they will always be remembered and looked back on fondly. I don't know if we'll ever see this franchise again. The last film came out 2 years ago, and it's possible another one is in the works now, but I don't see it happening. Everybody hated it, and they have shown that they are not interested in this IP anymore. And when you have a film that did that badly and nobody seems to care about the franchise anymore, there is no point in bringing it back. Why would Robert want to invest millions of dollars into another Spy Kids when he could make a film that he is actually passionate about? He has tried time and time again to make kids movies, and while Spy Kids succeeded in the beginning, his other attempts like Shark Boy and Lava Girl and shorts failed hard, and his later Spy Kids movie also failed. With somebody as creatively unique as Robert, I think he'd want to spend his time doing projects that are worth his time than another failed installment to a dry dead franchise nobody cares about. Unless he has a really good idea that is worth bringing back this franchise, like Pixar with Toy Story 5, and takes the IP into a new, interesting, fresh direction, and is completely different to the rest of the franchise, I don't think we're going to see another Spy Kids movie. Anyways, guys, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.